Everybody, welcome back to another Krita class. Today we're going to continue our series on the new text features in Krita. Today we're going to go over the text properties docker, which I have open on my screen already. Now, if you didn't watch the last video, if you want to activate this, you can either go to settings, dockers, and text properties, or you can click on the little T, go to tool options, and open it here. So this is going to be where a lot of our settings will live for our individual paragraph options and character options, and then any presets you want to save from those options you've made. First, we're going to go over paragraph. So as we saw in the last video, we can either click and get our text going, or we can click and drag. For this video, I'm just going to be clicking and dragging because it's automatically going to give me wrapped text that I paste in here. I don't have to worry about changing my format type. So as you can see, it's inline wrap, which is what I want for the whole video. So I'm just going to be clicking and dragging when I make a new text box. I'm going to paste in the lorem ipsum text just so we can have something to work with. And you can see here in paragraph, I have options that are on by default. To make life easier, I'm just going to increase the font size a little bit, and we're going to start exploring what these do. So I'm actually going to move this to the center here, or a little bit to the right. One part of the text box that I noticed when I was working with the text align, when we do center and right aligned, everything is based on where the left margin existed. So if we do a left aligned text box here, this line, we're going to keep an eye on it. The center is going to be based, it's going to center it based on where the left paragraph line was. If we want it right adjust or right aligned, then it's going to end where the left margin used to be. So when we go to align our text here, you can see the options down here change with it. If you need to modify them, you can. I personally didn't see any major change when I was doing this, so I'm not sure if that's just me not being a typesetter or typography person and knowing what they do, or what. But honestly, for my needs, this is more than enough, and I think for most people, this is more than enough to modify as well. If we need to justify it, like let's say we have maybe the text for whatever reason is this thin box, we want to justify it, so we can go ahead and manually adjust it there. We have our font size, font family, and the font style. So right now where it's at a default sans serif, any font that you have in here, you'll have a little bit of a preview with the A and the Z. So if we pick this font here, I can change the font style to a bold if it exists. A good point here is not all fonts have all these options. Some of them have more, some of them have less. I do have some fonts that don't come with an italic version at all. So that maybe something you want to consider is if you don't have a font style there, visible, it may just be the font. We can do a condensed regular if we want, or a bold italic. I'm just going to keep it at the standard plain font here. So here we have line height. If you don't remember from the last video, or if you didn't watch it yet, I'll do a quick reminder. First, I'm going to make my background a little bit lighter so we can see the lines a little bit easier. If we go to typesetting mode, we have all these lines here. We have line height, size, text size. If we change the line height, be very careful here. Don't want to go too crazy. There we go. You can change the line height by moving the mouse up and down very carefully. You don't want this to go off to the middle of nowhere in canvas land. You can see the line height in the text properties is changing. Now this is just a manual adjustment. If we want a perfect line height, we can right click on those numbers and we'll just say 10. So now we have 10 point for the line height. You can change this to percentage, pixels, centimeters, inches, whatever you need. I personally have never heard of or used these other options, but if you do a lot of typesetting work for typography, you may know exactly what that is, in which case you can go ahead and manually adjust it. So this is actually pretty a thin line height. So I'm going to make that 20. So now we have this at 20 points in between each line here. I took off the typesetting mode so we can just see that. And then again, if you don't like it, you can just right click on the number again and type the value that you want, and you can change the value height a lot easier versus doing it manually. If you're going to add property, we have other options down here. Some of these are only for the paragraph tab and some of them are only for character. So real quick, if we look at the bottom here, we have some baseline language text area. We go to character, they don't exist. So like the text one is gone. So you may see a difference between these two tabs with the other options that you can use. I won't be going over all of these just because there's so many, and some of them are kind of like self-explanatory, like the font size adjust, letter spacing, word spacing, stuff like that. Some of them I'm just not really that familiar with, which is font kerning and open type, and then I think it's some of the glyphs. So, but if you use I believe these are language specific, so you may need to use that. All right, so I'm going to show you what tab size looks like. So tab size is going to show up here. Unfortunately, at this time, we can't move these options anywhere. So when you go to add them in, you just have to take a minute, or rather a second, to look to see where it was added. So for the tab size, if you hit tab, if you go to your text box and you go to the beginning and you hit tab, usually that's like a start of a paragraph, like Microsoft Word or whatever. You just add a space for the start of the paragraph. You can change how big you want that tab size to be. You can make it smaller. If you don't want it, just hit your backspace. There you go, hit it twice. And then to remove the tab size property here, just hit the little arrow. Now for these, like for font size, as you just saw, it doesn't remove the font size option, it just reverts it to the default 12 size font. So the custom properties that you add, you can remove them with the arrow, but the ones that are meant to stay with the tab, you can just revert back to default. I'm not entirely sure how to differentiate that. Like if you want to reset it for an added property, I would think you could just reset it with the arrow. Maybe it's user error on my part, but it wouldn't let me. So just something to keep in mind. Another option that I thought was important to look at was the writing modes. We have horizontal, which is exactly what we have here. I'm going to zoom out so we can see this. We have vertical, right to left. This is actually a really cool look. I have no idea when I would ever use it. Obviously this might be language specific as well. Like for Japanese, I believe they do write like this in some situations. I'm not sure about other countries. Off the top of my head, or like other Asian languages. There's so many out there, I don't know. So that might be something that you might look into. We can do vertical left to right. So it's going to be each column is the sentence, or how the sentence is being broke up into. Then can go back to having it horizontal. So another option is text indent. Now this was grayed out originally, but if you go and activate it, then it becomes an option you can add. I'm not entirely sure why it's grayed out to begin with, but it works. So we have text indent. So if we go to the beginning of our paragraph here, and we want to indent this, we'll just say 10. Oh, I'm going to 11. We'll say 11. So the paragraph is now 11 points inward. Now I have a second paragraph here that I pasted in. I'm going to do indent after hard breaks. So now every time I have a paragraph where I do it, hit the enter key, this tab's going to show up. So if I hit the backspace a couple times right here, you can see my mouse. If I just put the period back in there and hit space, it's add a new line, but it's not a new paragraph because I didn't hit enter. If I hit enter, that automatically gives me that indent of 11 points. If I want the hanging indentation, that's going to take the first line and keep it left justified with no indent, and it's going to use this indent for everything after that first line until we do another hard break, which is the enter key. So we can actually uncheck that and it's not going to affect anything. So for example, if I zoom out, I hit enter key and I hit paste again, no editing on my part. It's just by default that hang indentation with a text indent of 11 is going to stay. So that third paragraph is going to look like that automatically. So if you're doing typesetting work for maybe a flyer or who knows what else, maybe you're doing like a booklet, because we have Comics Manager and I showed how to do like a mini booklet. Maybe you're setting up some type for that. That's a good way to start managing it. So you can just put all the lovely text indents in there. So I'm going to remove that because I don't need it. All right, so I'm going to move on to character just because I don't want this video to be like 2 hours long. So we're going to go to character. So here, it doesn't look too different, honestly. We still have the font size, family, and font style, and the line height. As you can see, if I click off of it and it's just the box I can move, I have all these options that show up. I don't know why they only show up when you're not selected, because you can't actually do anything here with character. If anyone knows, let me know, but just don't worry about it if that happens. So if we go down to text transform, which is, where is it? Right here. We select everything. You can see that it shows up. We can actually take everything here and we can capitalize the first letter in each word. We can do everything in uppercase, or we can do everything in lowercase, including the first letter of the first sentence. For some reason, it doesn't, oh, there we go. For some reason it wasn't selecting the last few letters. I don't know why. But we can also do full width. So it's gonna have an equal amount of spacing between each letter. Looks like this, which is interesting. So for text transform, you can also leave it at just no transform for the overall typesetting and just do full width if you'd like. Now it is a little weird if you try to uncheck it. It like, I don't know what happens at the bottom here, but it gets a little funny. So just keep in mind, just click a couple times and it'll go back to normal. Don't know why it does that, but it does. We also have text decoration. So if we click on this, you can do underline, you can do overline, or a line through. You can change the color here if we'd like. We zoom in so we can see this here. We actually see the color being changed. So now I have a underline that's orange and it's dashed. If I want to do wavy, I can do that. So we can like fake text or typos in our text by doing the wavy line, which is pretty neat. So if I change this to red, I take all of that off real quick. And let's say I just want, oops, we'll just say this section, we'll have an underline and we'll do a wavy underline. We can pretend that this is all typos. So it's something fun you can do. And there would be a reason why you'd want this option. Maybe you're testing something out, you're making a comic and you just want to pretend like maybe your character's typing on a computer and you want to show typos for whatever reason. You know, there's lots of fun things you can do. Just a reminder, I won't be going over everything in the text properties because there's so much, but definitely play around with it if you're familiar with a lot of these text features in general, because a lot of this does exist in other software. I typically just use the underlining, the sizing, and the font style for most of my things, and then maybe the spacing of the line height. All right, so now that we have gone through that, we want to make a preset. So real quick, I already made one, so I have that here. I go and double click on the preset I made, it automatically applies it with the font that I picked, the line height, the font style. It does keep my underline that I just did, so it keeps my text decoration, which is totally fine. But yeah, so that does work. If you want to make your own, so let's say we undo that. There we go. We want our line height to be, we'll just say 20. We want our font to be, let's pick a random one. We'll make it something fancy. Want it to be bold, italic. I'm going to take off the text decoration. Back to paragraph. And we want, take off the text transform. What is it that I wanted? I want the text indent. I want hanging indentation. For whatever reason, we'll just put, oops. Right click on the number so we can, we'll do 20. There we go. Hanging indentation, there we go. Be very careful to right click on the number because if you click instead, it's going to be a very high value. You don't want to crash Krita, which I did do once by accident. No fault of Krita. I just went way too crazy with that value by accident. All right, so we'll just say that for whatever reason, this is the font that, or the style that we like. We like the text indentation, the font, the line spacing, all that good stuff. We want to save this. We're gonna go to preset. I'm gonna click on the plus icon, and we have a little box to edit that preset style. So I'm just gonna name this, we'll just say fancy lorem ipsum, a tutorial. So then we're going to go and we're going to add our, let's see, we're going to go to paragraph. We have our text indent at 20. That is exactly what we want. The font that we are using, I don't remember which one it is, but we're just going to stick with this one here. We have line height at 15. All that's good. And then character, we didn't really change anything, so we'll leave that alone as well. And we'll hit OK. So now if we click on this, we do fancy ipsum. All right, so I went and saved that new preset here. I'll just put fancy lorem ipsum. So real quick, I'm going to double click on the first one I made. It looks like this with that font and line height that I liked. I'm going to click and highlight everything. Go back to my fancy. And it's going to change the font and the line height as well. So it's different now. I forgot the font I used originally, so I went and changed it in the settings when I went to make it to something else, which is fine. So what I found out is if I go to the first example that I have here, for the first preset, the font and the line height is exactly how I wanted along with the font size. But if I go to the new one I made, I have the new everything that I made for those for that preset, the fancy lorem ipsum, including the indentation. But if I flip back to the first preset I have here, it does save that indentation. I'm not entirely sure why, because I didn't want it to be saved for this preset, but we can just take it off with this little arrow icon. We're just going to click and highlight everything and take it off. And then the first preset that we saved is back to the way it should be. Then we can go ahead and flip through each one and just look at the different font sizing that we have. So it's not like a perfect preset save. Again, I don't know why it's saving the indentation setting for each preset when it should be aligned with only specific presets, but that's not like the worst thing in the world. This is all brand new to Krita as well, so maybe it's me. Maybe it's just a bug. I'm not entirely sure. But again, this is light years better than what it used to be, so I'm not really complaining. And just make sure you have all the text highlighted. When you change the preset, sometimes it deselects the last word. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Again, it could be a bug, it could just be me. But just keep an eye on that if you go and swap things to always make sure everything is selected. And that's a quick rundown of the text properties. Now we will be going over the shape options and text on a path in the next video. I was going to include it in this one, but that's going to be a very extensive video, so I decided not to make this 3 hours long, and we're going to put that in a part 3 video. So now that we're done with text settings and properties and taking a look at these new options that Krita has given us, the only thing I would like you to do is start playing with them. If you use a different language other than English that requires your text to be changed from left to right, for example, maybe you have to change writing mode. You can do that. I would basically just go ahead and make some settings that you like and make your own preset out of that. That way you can get used to understanding which options you're going to be using the most, that you need to be most familiar with, and it's probably going to just be the line height, the font, and a couple options with the indentation, stuff like that. All right, and that's it for the text properties video. We will be going over text with shapes and paths in the next one. I was going to include it in this video, but it didn't really make sense topic-wise, and it was going to be really long, and I didn't want to make this video too long because then it's just not fun to get through. And there's so much information and so much that has changed anyway that I want to make sure I'm giving you as much information in that video as possible. So it'll be for next week. So your homework for now is basically to play with the font text properties, create your own preset, even if it's something you're going to eventually toss later. Like this down here is the same as everything. You can just toss it if you want, or you can make a new one, all that good stuff, or modify it. If you want to do a text transform or text decoration, start playing with that because those are going to be features you're going to be using a lot when you work with text. So the more comfortable you are, the more presets you save, the easier text will be in Krita going forward. As always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to share this video with somebody who is new to Krita or needs help using text in Krita, especially in the new version. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.